Hi, I'm Terry and I'm on the Maggie Menu Trail.
Terry's here and she's from Cook Up Creations. What is that?
Well, Cook Up Creations is a company that I started out of my passion and my love for cooking. It involves basically what happens is that anybody who's interested in learning how to cook, whether you do not know how to cook or you just want to learn to cook new dishes, something different, something exciting, join us in a class.
And this is for ages?
Well, we have classes starting from 14 years old all the way up to anybody else who just wants to cook.
What's today's dish about? I see all sorts of mushrooms and things happening here.
Today, first, we're making two different dishes. We're actually first starting off, the first dish which you would eat if you're having a meal would be the pasta with a coconut rosemary sauce.
Okay.
And then we're also making a coconut custard. But we're going to do it in reverse. So we're preparing it today. We're going to make the custard first because that one takes a little longer.
Right.
You know, some time efficiency, time management in the kitchen.
Right.
And so we're going to make the custard first and then put it in the oven. And while that is going on, then we will move on to the pasta.
All right, looking forward to it. What kind of Maggi products I see you have here?
Okay, we're using the coconut milk powder. And we're also going to be using some Maggi Soup It Up vegetable mix, which is one of my favorite ingredients.
Okay.
So when you want to use this and hide it and you don't want anybody to know it's in there, it has a lot of...
Hide it.
Hide it. You know, Maggi is one of those good things that, you know, you can hide in a dish and it helps to enhance
it's a secret
the dish.
ingredient and nobody can
Nobody
figure it
really
out.
know what is in there. But this Maggi product has a lot of vegetables, small vegetables cut in there.
Okay.
So I like the flavor of it. So when I want to hide it, I put it in a spice grinder and just grind it into a fine powder.
Wow. And it becomes your secret ingredient.
Yes.
All right, I'm looking forward to this dish. What's this now? An entree and a dessert?
Yes.
Okay.
It's one of those dishes that is so simple that, I mean, everybody would be able to do at home very easily, and it would make such an impression that your friends would be like, wait, you can cook. So it's one of those dishes that we love to do at Cook Up Creations to, you know, make anybody seem like a star in the kitchen.
All right, great. So I'll see you soon and be able to taste your wonderful dish.
Okay, looking forward to that.
All right.
A flan is an upscale classic custard. It is an elegant, rich dessert that can be adapted to almost any occasion.
Today we'll be making a coconut custard with a pasta and coconut rosemary sauce. Now we're going to start off by making our caramel sauce to go with the custard. We're going to put in 1 cup of sugar on a low flame, 1.5 tablespoons of lemon juice, and 1.5 tablespoons of water. And this is just to make our caramel sauce. Now don't worry about it if the water and the sugar don't mix completely together at this point. Just leave it and allow it to cook. It will melt, so start it off on a low flame, right? While this is happening, we're going to start making the filling for the custard. And we're using 1 packet of coconut mix, Maggi coconut mix powder. We're going to add a cup of water to that. You just want to incorporate the mix and just get all the particles to dissolve. So we're going to just mix that together. Then to that we're going to add 2 tablespoons of vanilla. And I like to add my spices to that, so I like to add some cinnamon powder. Now if you don't like cinnamon and you don't like nutmeg, you don't have to add them, but I like to add them because I like the flavors that they give. So I just use some cinnamon and some nutmeg and mix that in. We're going to sweeten this by using some Betty condensed milk. Now you need to sweeten this to your own taste. However, I should warn you that when you're making a custard or anything like this, if you need to sweeten it just a little under what you would want your taste to be. And that's because once it goes in the oven and it starts to cook, it's going to get sweeter than you actually expected it. So I'm going to just taste this. I think it needs to be a little sweeter, so I'm just going to add a little more milk, condensed milk. That should be good now. Now the reason that I didn't add the eggs yet is because I want to make sure I taste it before I add my eggs, because after that, that's it. So I'm going to just whisk these eggs together, and I'm going to add this to our mixture here. Now at this time, all our sugar is almost melted out here, and you're going to just turn the flame up. But you don't want to stir it while it's melting, and that's because if you stir it at this point in time before all the sugar is melted out, then what is going to happen is that it's going to be uneven. Some of the crystals are not going to be fully melted, so you're going to just leave it until it fully melts. And in the meantime, we're going to just prepare our dish I'm going to add the other packet of the coconut milk powder here and put some water in there. Okay, we're going to add some olive oil to this pot here that we have here. Just enough to coat the pot. And then to that, we're going to add our mushrooms. And a scallion. And we're going to just allow this to saute until your mushrooms get kind of brown, and then you know they're ready. Okay, while our mushrooms and our scallion is sauteing, I've had a pot of salted water here heating, and to that I'm going to add our pasta. Now this is some fresh pasta that was made in the Italian class that we had at Cook Up on Sunday, and I'm just going to allow that to cook for about 5 minutes. Now fresh pasta cooks much quicker than packet pasta, but if you bought a pack of pasta, don't worry about it. It will be cooked in about 10 minutes, just a little longer, but I'm going to just use my fresh pasta here. Our mushrooms are coming along quite nicely here. While this is sauteing, what I'm going to do is I have my coconut milk that I dissolve here in some water. To that, I'm going to add my vegetable soup mix. And just allow all these flakes to dissolve in this. And I'm just going to add the coconut milk mixture now to the pot. I'm going to let this cook down for about 5 minutes. So I'm going to cover it. Just allow it to cook down for a bit. Now you know when your pasta is cooked, when it starts to look a little white, now you can see that that's not quite ready. Now I'm using a pasta pot, but if you don't have a pasta pot, don't worry about it. Just use a nice big pot that's big enough to hold all your pasta. Okay, to these ramekin dishes, which have been greased with some spray, non-stick spray, we're going to just add our caramel sauce, just enough to coat the bottom of the dish. Now be careful when you're using this, because this hot sugar is like worse than an oil burn. I mean, this will just tear your skin off, so be careful with this. Now I'm going to allow this to cool for a bit, just so that the sugar can set at the bottom of this. Now we're going to put our stalk of rosemary in our sauce here, and just stir this. Now this is looking perfect at this point. Now to this, I'm just going to add our pasta, which is ready. Just going to spoon it off into the sauce. Pasta is supposed to be cooked till it's al dente, which is an Italian word which literally means to the bite. It literally translates actually to meaning tooth, but it really can be mean. It means that the pasta is actually, it gives some resistance, but it's cooked through thoroughly. Okay, we're just putting our fresh pasta, and I'm just going to add this pop chow to this. This is mainly for color, just to add some extra color to this dish. And I'm just going to stir everything together, making sure that all the pasta gets nicely coated with our fabulous Maggi coconut milk powder sauce. Mix everything get nice and incorporated here. Mix everything well together. And once everything is nicely mixed in, I'm just going to cover this. If you want pak choy, to remain the same color, you really and truly you can't cover it for too long. You need it to cook, but you cannot cover it for too long, else it starts to get a color that you don't want. Now these should be nice and set now. If you try and look at them, when you move them like this, the sugar doesn't run anymore. So we're going to add our custard mixture to this now. Just to fill each ramekin evenly. And we're going to put these to bake in a water bath. And the reason that we're going to be using a water bath is because we want to make sure that it cooks through evenly and it creates some sort of moisture in the oven and not just dry heat. So we need to prepare a water bath. And a water bath really and truly is just a big pan with some hot water, and you put these in there to bake. We're going to bake them at 350 for 40 minutes and they'll be ready. And then when it's finished, what we're going to do is allow it to cool, come to room temperature, then we're going to put it in the fridge. The longer it stays in the fridge, to chill, the better it is. So if it stays for a day, that is perfect, right? Because what happens is that when you now remove it, unmold it from the ramekin, and the sauce pours, it will create a nice sauce because the caramel starts to dissolve.
Everything is just great. I love pasta, and I've never had that sort of flan before.
Okay.
So this is going to be an experience for me.
Okay.
All right, let's remind us what you did. This is so beautiful. You just don't want to touch it. But remind us what you did.
Well, this is a pasta with a coconut milk and rosemary sauce. And has some mushrooms and some pak choy.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Lovely. I'll go home and try this one.
If you don't like the taste of rosemary, you can also just leave it out and just use, if you use the Maggi products, that's the veggie soup mix and the Maggi coconut milk powder by itself, it still adds a great flavor.
But can I use another herb, basil, thyme,
yes.
anything I want? I mean,
yes.
Okay. Tell us about this.
Okay. Well, this is a coconut flan, right? And basically, it's the same thing that we call custard flan, you know, one and the same. When I grew up making custard where it was baked, but a lot of people grew up making custard where it's you put it in a double boiler and you make it on the fire and whatever. But this is just straight, putting it in the oven and allow it to bake. And I put the caramel sauce over it just for garnishing purposes, but usually the caramel that melts off into it that was in the ramekin dish is just enough to provide a nice sauce.
Hit the spot. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your wonderful dish with us.
Thank
and I wish
you.
you all the best with your classes.
Thank you.
So follow the Maggi menu trail. We may be making our next stop in your community.
Every day, people are cooking and eating delicious meals prepared with the help of Maggi products. Maggi continues to do something better for you and your family.